Hey guys, welcome back to Crafty Quilting Designs. I hope you're well and having a really great day. I made this afternoon and I just wanted to share with you what I actually made. Now, I did do a little bit recording of how to make it. I was just doing some sewing just to pass the time for the afternoon, and I thought, oh, I can actually share this with my quilting family. So I'm going to take you through how I make it. Hopefully it comes through as clear as it is in my head to you, and you can actually enjoy making this. It's really quick and I just did it while I was watching the telly. It's beautiful. You can use it on your coffee table as I have here, and you can put something in the middle, whether it's a vase or candles, whatever. I have taken some pictures just to show you how I've actually used it again. So that's it. Just wanted to jump in quickly and share this with you. So hope you enjoy. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and of course hit that notification bell. And happy quilting, guys, and see you on the weekend. Bye bye for now. Really simplistic. It's a really beautiful quick project, and when I say it's quick, it really is quick. It doesn't take long at all. So we'll be making 12 pads. So I look at it in the sense of it's like a little mug rug or something, but that's basically what it is. It's literally how you use those pads together that makes it into the fabric wreath. Okay, now you need 12 of backing squares and you need 12 of front squares. Now I have used a mixture for the front. Okay, so it's entirely down to you which fabrics you use. Now I do feel that these will look really beautiful in metallic fabric. I think it'll look really absolutely gorgeous. It will stand out. Okay, but I'm just using ordinary Christmas fabric. Okay, now I'm going to be using my wreath as a candle wreath, and no particular reason. I think it'll look really lovely, number one. Number two, I do use a lot of candle around the home. It just gives a really beautiful atmosphere, especially when the lights are turned down. So you need 12 each of the fabric, okay, and you also need 12 of, I am using wadding. Now if you wanted to use batting, you can. If you wanted to use cotton batting, you can. I would I would be inclined to just mention that if you're using polyester, it might be a little bit puffy. All right, interfacing is best. Interfacing has a glue side that you need to iron onto the squares. You'll only be ironing the interfacing onto one square. All right, because the way how this is compiled, you're going to sandwich it together. All right, so that's how I'm going to do it. So everything is 12, and in terms of quantity, and you need 6 inches for both front and back. Now I'm calling my reds my back. Ideally you don't necessarily have a front and back until you actually lay it together. The point here is which of the fabrics you think you want to show off in terms of the curl of it or the joining of it, or the ones that you want showing off on the flat, and that will make much more sense to you once I point it out, once we finish making it. Okay, for the wadding, I've cut this at 5 inches square, so it sits in the middle of both of the fabric. Okay, now another thing you can do, you can quilt it at this stage before you sew it together. All right, let me bring in one I've done previously here. So I have quilted mine. Now in all honesty, I added on my binding first and then I quilted it. You can quilt it at this stage. It doesn't make a blind difference as to which stage you do first. You do not even have to quilt it. I have just chosen to do that because I think personally it just makes it a little bit more structured. Okay, now remember when I mentioned about curling it in, that's simply what you'll be doing to curling it in. So you can decide which fabric you want to show there or there. Is entirely down to you. So either the fabric you want there, so if you wanted the fabric like this, then obviously you're showing off this one and then that one, but these, remember, these are going to be joins to the other ones on the other side, and this will be on show mainly, but it doesn't really matter as long as your fabric is contrasting. Okay. Now let me just talk about the fabrics a little bit. Now I have chosen to go with the same size square. If you wanted to go bigger, and I'll explain the reason why. Now I have used binding for my edges here, okay? You do not have to use binding. You can use any other piece of fabric. Now if you wanted to add a different color and just sew it on as a piece of binding over it there, bias binding tape, you can. If you wanted, you can just cut the length and then stitch it on as you would and just fold over the edges, because the objective here is to hide the raw edges. However, I have chosen to use the pre-made bias binding. I've got a long reel here and I've just chosen to do that only because it's there and it's a lot more easier. Okay, so that's one option. So the other option, as I said, you can simply just cut some fabric into, I would probably say 2 inches strip, and then sew it on as you would normally. So you'll sew it on edge to edge like that and fold it over to make sure it doesn't show. So you should have something look like that. Another option is to make one of your square slightly bigger. I'll just shuffle this down a little bit so hopefully you can get my point. Okay, so let's say for example I have made this my 6 inches and I'm going to make my background square or my back square 8 inches. And the reason for that is to avoid then having to cut extra fabric and do the same technique. So you can just simply fold it once, fold it twice, and you're literally covering that raw edge like that. Okay, so in effect you will be creating the same thing as what I've done here. You'll be creating the same thing, more or less. All right, so it's entirely down to you what technique you use. Okay, and you will have those edges all the way around because obviously your square is 8 inches square bigger than your first square in the middle. All right, so again, I have made both my squares 6 inches, but if you wanted to do the front square 6 and the back square 8, and that way you have enough to make your first fold and then turn it over so that it hides the raw edge, and you can do that all the way around until you achieve something like this. All right. But if you choose the binding, then you would sew it all on, create your mitered corners, same way on both of them. Mitered corners, either one you'll do, you'll still have a mitered corner, and then that way you just continue and sew your binding on, close it off as normal. In all honesty, I didn't do a bias joining there. I just simply folded it over and stitch it on like that. That is simply what I did. All right. Didn't make it too fussful. It's simply a quick project. I just did some swirls for my quilting. Now, again, you don't have to quilt it. I just choose to do so. It's entirely down to you. You can leave it plain, okay? Especially if you're using interfacing, it wouldn't be thick enough for you to do that quilting. I wouldn't bother if that's what you chose to do. But I have wadding in here. It's a little bit stronger, or sort of tougher, and it's not that puffy consistency so much as a polyester batting, so I think it's ideal. And I wanted to use the wadding because I think it'll help make it a little bit more structured. Okay, so that was my reason for doing that, but you can use whatever you have. All right, so what I'm going to do now is fit this together. Remember, your wadding is 5 inches square in the middle and your fabric is 6 inches, and you need 12 of each. Well, you need 12 of everything, all right, because you're sandwiching it together, and you're placing it on top, and I'm simply going to add a little pin there. Now you can glue if you want, but to be honest, it's a small piece. You don't necessarily need to spray baste it, and it's a pin will hold it together. And what I'm going to do simply is to add on my tape all the way around it. So I'm going to do that. Do a quick quilting, and then I'll come back and show you how to combine all together. So I've already made my 11, and as I said, I have mixed some of my colors. So I have that one, this one you've seen, and I also have this as well. So I have 3 colors there that I intend to show. You can use scrap fabric, which is what I have done. These were leftover Christmas fabric that I've decided to use up. You can also make it in different themes. So obviously this is a Christmas theme. You can use it on your table for Christmas. You can use it on your coffee table as a candle holder, as a vase holder. It's entirely down to you. You can use it, make an Easter one. It's really down to you and what theme you want to go with. Again, perfect gift for someone that can be used time and time again, especially if it's a Christmas one. It will be used every year, and they will, I'm sure, think about you every time they take it out. All right, so let's get all of this completed. So I have one more to do. Remember, you're making 12 in total, and you should have 36 pieces of fabric all together. All right, so let me finish that, and then I'll come back and show you what the next step is. All right, guys, so let's compile this together. So what I have done is draw a line from this point to that point. Hopefully you can see that on the camera there. I'll just bring it closer so you can see that line. Now, all I have done is line up my ruler with a diagonal line in the middle, and I've put it on the area that I want to measure. So just like that, and I have found my 3 inches there and there in terms of where the length comes down. I've just marked it on both sides and then just draw a line. All right, so I've done that 6 times. I don't need to do 12 times because obviously you are joining the fabrics together, and I've just added a pin there. And all I'm going to do now is stitch this line on that particular drawn line. I'm going to reverse stitch at the start and reverse stitch at the end just to lock those stitches in. And all I have done with the others is put my 2 colors together. Now, if you wanted, remember, if you used one color, then it will be the same color against or next to each other. All right, so I've done that 6 times. So I've paired them up, and all I'm going to do now is reverse stitch at the start, reverse stitch at the end with all of them. Okay, I need to remove my darning foot and then I will do that. Okay. Okay, so I've stitched the first part together and it comes like that once you stitch it on together, obviously. All right, now you need to join them together, and I have done that already. It looks like so. Now in order for me to join it together, I have pinned these two parts. If I were to remove this, it will be like that because I've obviously just stitched these first two together only. Okay, I'm going to move the camera slightly over a bit. And so what you need to do now, you can do this individually and then mark the other side, but what I have done is pin it together, align it, and just do that same marking of that 3 inches from the middle there to the end there, measuring that 3 inches and then drawing that line across there, and I'm just pinning it in place so that it doesn't move. So in that sense, what you get is a long strip like that of all of the fabrics joined together. All right. Now I have the other bit here, the last one. I've started to decorate it, and I'll explain that a little bit more. So I'm just going to continue stitching all of these together, and then I will show you about decorating it. So let me bring this in. And all I'm doing is actually sewing now the areas that is not joined. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm adding a reverse stitch at the start and reverse stitch at the end, just to make sure those stitches do not come undone. Tie that one on. Hopefully you can see, because if I switch my lights on in the machine, it will be very bright and you probably won't be able to make it out. So again, I'm only stitching the areas where I have the pin securing it on. And I think that one's already done. I just did that. Back to this one now. And that's why it's important to pin it. So it will move, but you need to make sure that you have that point there. I mean, I was just doing some Christmas sewing, just for myself, and I thought I'll make this today. And then while I was sewing, I thought, oh, I can share this with everyone else. It's a lovely project. So I'm going to finish this and then I'll come back and show you literally how to compile all of this. I'm just being mindful about making the video really long. So I'll see you in a mo. Okay, so I've stitched it all on and you should have a long row with all of them attached securely. They should look roughly the same size at the back. Okay, now all you need to do now is start joining the tops together. Now you can do this in about 3 ways. Number 1, you could simply just join them together like so and just do a little tack and sew it down, and that's the end of that. Okay, or you can put a button on it, whatever sort of fancy feature you want. I have elected to put a little rose on the top there. So all I'm doing is literally hand sewing these on so that they're tucked on there really nice and secure, so it doesn't get undone and it doesn't come out. And so that's what I'm going to do. And then once I've done that, then I'll show you now how to actually bring the whole thing together. And that's really quite easy, to be honest. You're just going to be joining the last 2 together, and then that way everything is joined up. Now I have already joined this one, fold this one over, so this is my last one. So all I'm going to do is when I get to my circle, because once I'm finished adding on all of my little flowers, I have this garland of little roses here that I'm adding on. I mean, again, you can add on whatever you want, something Christmassy, but I thought this would look really beautiful. So obviously you would need 12, okay? I've already trimmed some off. They got little pearls in the middle of them, which makes them look really pretty. Some have got little roses on them also. So all I'm going to do is continue, just to make sure I give you a full view, is continue to tack these on there. I'm going to alternate, so I have a rose, then I have one without a rose, etc., and then continue. And then once I've done that, then I'll show you the last bit of joining it together. So I'll do this in a bow. It's a pity I cannot machine stitch this on. This would have been fantastic to machine sew it on, but I'm afraid this is going to be a little bit of a hand sewing. Not that I mind, but sometimes you just want the project to be over and done with. Oh yeah, right, so that's what I'm going to do. Give me about 15 minutes and then I will be back. Okay, so I've come to the last one and I've done the same thing. I have measured my 3 inches and drawn the line, and all I'm simply going to do is hand stitch on that line. I mean, you can try and machine stitch if you want, but I think that's going to be a little bit difficult to do that. So I'm going to pin it together and just hand stitch, and then I will show you the final item and what it actually looks like. So I'm just pinning it so that it stays in position, because obviously it's a little bit rigid at the moment. It's fighting back, so I'm just going to pin it so it stays, and then hand stitch. And yeah, and then I will add on my final bit of flower in the middle there, and then it is completed. Doesn't that look absolutely beautiful? And then I'll show you an overhead shot of what it looks like. So I'm going to put my candle right in the middle there, and I've simply just made this afternoon while sitting down watching the telly. As you can see, I'm in my living room sewing. I thought I'd come up my sewing room, watch a movie and make this, and while I was doing that I thought, oh, I can share it with my quilting family on YouTube. So there you go. So let me finish this, guys, and I'll show you the finished product. Okay guys, so this is what it looks like. It looks really gorgeous, actually. Absolutely beautiful. So you can see I'm just using it mainly for the candle, and to be honest, that is simply what I made it for. But you can use it for whatever else you want to too. It has come together really nicely, and as I said, this will look really beautiful in metallics. You can add any other decor instead of the roses that I've added on. And this is a garland of roses that I bought on Amazon years ago. I'll put a link in the description box down below for you in case you wanted something like this, so you know where to get it. I'm going to just swap this over. As you can see, all of the points meet in the middle there. And I'm just going to add and see what it looks like. It's really lovely. So guys, do make something like this, as again you can give it for gifts, for friends, family. It's a gift that you can use time and time again. So once again guys, if you enjoyed my videos, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and of course guys, happy quilting. Bye for now, and I'll see you next time on Crafty Quilting Designs.